All right, so make sure you're seated in a nice comfortable seat. And yeah, feel your spine nice and tall, relax and draw your shoulders back and down. And just take a moment here to gently close down the eyes. So you can just let go of whatever's happened during your day or whatever's going to come ahead. You know, this is just time for you. It's time to just tune in and be present in this moment. So just taking a few moments just to observe how you're feeling. How you're feeling in your body. How you're feeling in your mind. How you're feeling energetically. Just check in with yourself without the need to change anything. Yeah. Let's just turn this awareness now to your breath, just the natural rhythm of your breath. Just breathe gently in and out through the nose. Just listening to the sound, the rhythm, the depth of your breath. What is it saying about you in this moment? So relaxing the chest, relaxing the shoulders and your abdomen. We're just going to start to gently just breathe more evenly. So we'll start to even out the breath. So consciously shaping that breath now. Just breathe in and out through the nose. And as you soften your belly, try to really breathe down all the way to the base of your spine. And gently breathe out. Good, so taking some nice long deep breaths here. Let the breath be really fluid, really effortless. Just moving through like a gentle wave. Just a few more nice deep breaths. Let it nourish your body, your mind, your entire being. Nice. Okay, just returning back to the natural rhythm of your breath. Keeping the eyes closed still, just notice now how are you feeling. So just checking in again, just observing maybe what's shifted, what's changed, what stayed the same. So whenever you have even just 5 minutes, I always just invite you to do this simple exercise. Such a powerful way to just kind of center yourself and bring you back into the moment. And just bringing your hands together, you just start to rub your palms together, generating some heat. And slowly place them over your eyes, spreading that energy on your face and anywhere else in your body that you feel needs it. And slowly opening up the eyes. Nice. Okay, welcome back everyone. Okay, so I'm going to get stuck into it now with this wonderful technology that is Zoom. It always seems to be interesting how to share the desktop. Now let me see. Just gonna find this presentation. Slides. Okay. Okay, so everyone can see the screen, the presentation. Yes, thumbs up. Cool. Okay, wonderful. All right, so I'm going to be taking you guys through an introduction to Ayurveda. And this is, you know, it's really from my personal experience, having healed myself with the tools of Ayurveda and having studied Ayurveda over the last few years. Okay. So, yes. A little bit about me for those of you who don't know me, or maybe don't know even about my journey. So I'm from Australia. I grew up in Australia. I've spent the last 15 years abroad. My background is Indian. I spent the last almost 15 years working in the corporate world in digital marketing and strategy. I've been practicing yoga for quite a long time. I can't even remember now. It's probably like more than 15 years. And I think it was about 5 years ago. I think some of you are on the call with me. We did my yoga teacher training. And last year I spent quite a bit of time in India, so in Kerala and in Rishikesh, where I did my training to become an Ayurvedic practitioner. So I learned everything about how to treat and diagnose people with, you know, any kind of like health condition, particularly chronic condition. I learned Ayurvedic treatments and how to diagnose and take pulse as well. And yeah, it was really through my own experience. So having worked in the corporate world, I think it was in 2015, I experienced a kind of stress burnout situation. And this really kind of led me to deepen my practice, firstly in yoga. And that was something that I was really able to kind of not just, you know, manage my energy, but then that kind of shifted my way in which I was approaching my lifestyle, because I knew I was doing some things that were probably not as conducive to my health. And then it was really a few years ago when I found Ayurveda. So I suffered from long COVID and issues to do with my menstruation, such as adenomyosis and fibroids. And having these tools with Ayurveda and of course yoga, and just learning to be able to heal myself was really something quite kind of transformative in my life. And that's when I founded OJAS Wellbeing. So although I had been teaching for a while, I wanted to combine, you know, both my knowledge and experience with yoga, meditation, and breathwork, and Ayurveda, because for me, these two really represent a holistic way for self-healing, and also to really like empower and live my life and be the best me. So Ayurveda and yoga are rooted in the Vedic tradition of knowledge, which is a system from India, which I'll explain a bit about in the next slide. And my purpose, so not just as a yoga teacher or Ayurvedic practitioner, whatever I want to call myself, it's really to help share this knowledge which I've learned, to help people and empower them to live their best life every day. So I think, you know, in today's day and age, it can be so confusing and overwhelming with the amount of information that we have, you know, about health and what's good for us. And yeah, it can get really draining and confusing, especially if you're just trying to look for natural and sustainable solutions, how to manage your life. And I want to equip people with those tools to heal themselves, to empower themselves, and to know that it doesn't have to be this hard. Like, you don't have to suffer, you don't have to struggle. We are all naturally meant to thrive and to live and to be well naturally as we are. Okay, so what is Ayurveda? So to break it down, the word Ayur means life. It actually means longevity as well. And Veda is science, knowledge. So it's a holistic science of self-healing. So this originated in India about 5,000 years ago. So I'm sure probably a lot of you are familiar with yoga. Ayurveda is considered the sister science of yoga. And actually, even when yoga started, yoga was a means, we probably are more familiar with yoga today in terms of the asana, the postures, and, you know, various styles from hatha to vinyasa to ashtanga. The essence of yoga was a means of self-realization and self-transformation. So it was a way to become at peace and liberate yourself from suffering. And hand in hand with that went Ayurveda, so the science of life, as a means for self-healing. So the two main goals of Ayurveda is firstly to maintain a healthy state, not just in your body, but also in your mind and your spirit. So this is where Ayurveda kind of differentiates itself from a lot of other medical branches, you know, in terms of just looking at the systems. You're looking at the complete package. So it's so much more from just what you eat or treatments. It's how you live day to day. So it's really incorporating the body, mind, and soul. Okay. So the first is that a person should be healthy, and how to maintain this natural state so you can live out, you know, your purpose, or what we call in yoga, your dharma. And secondly is to treat any illness or disease from the cause and cure it. So cure it long term. So unlike you know, a lot of what we do today, it's like, okay, I have a headache. What do? You take a pill. Or you know, it might even be something that you find, okay, some kind of growth is discovered, and, you know, then you have surgery to take it out. So I think that's the thing, like today with modern medicine. Of course, it has so many advantages and benefits, and, you know, a lot of things that would have killed us years ago can really save us, even for something like very common like childbirth. But the difference with Ayurveda is it treats the cause of disease. So we look at, you know, not just the symptom, but what is the underlying cause. And that's where we really start to implement change, because we look at this holistic view of what's going on, you know, not just in your body, not just in your, you know, if it's I have some problem with my ovaries and I'm not producing enough estrogen, we automatically assume, okay, this is a problem with your endocrine system, your hormonal system. In Ayurveda, the approach is, oh, we look at this holistically, okay, to see what's happening in your life, what's causing the stress to lead to these hormonal imbalances. And then that approach is to treat from the cause. So not only you can cure yourself from that particular ailment, but so you then can thrive and live in your best life. Because in Ayurveda, the main purpose is to equip ourselves with these tools to live in our best way, to live a life of peace, of joy, and free from suffering. Okay, so we can open up to everyone. I just wanted to understand what do you think Ayurveda is? Okay, no right or wrong answer here at all. What is your perception? What is your experience? If you even have no idea, I'd just love to hear some thoughts. So if you just want to pop it on in the chat, or maybe even you can unmute yourself and share a bit. Please don't be shy. Anyone? No one? Okay, so we have no takers. Someone, yes, hello.
Yes, it's me. Hi.
Hi.
Well, I just wanted to say that I don't really know that much about Ayurveda. I already learned a lot, I can tell you. But I know I know that there are massages that I knew. Yeah, I've heard that you can get Ayurveda massage with specific oils and everything.
Yes.
But that's actually all that I knew about Ayurveda.
Okay.
I
All
can
right.
still learn a lot, I think.
Wonderful. It's just really interesting to know. Thanks for sharing, Ellie. And what else have we got here? So in the chat, we've got hot oil massages with spices and heat. And I thought of Ayurveda as an alternate medicine to conventional method. Okay. Well, I mean, they're not wrong answers. So Ayurveda in recent times, so Ayurveda now has actually gained a lot of popularity, especially in the last, I'd say, 3 to 5 years. So unlike yoga, I think really kind of kicked off about that's probably more than 20 years ago now. Now yoga is really known as like a physical way to stay healthy, which I did touch upon. It is actually much more than that. So Ayurveda in the recent times, yes, we are definitely kind of, thinking about the same thing, these like luxurious pampering treatments where you go to some beautiful resort in India and you get these like massages with oil and all kinds of spices and everything like that, which is very nice. So in the middle here we have, this is Courtney Kardashian and her husband Travis. They went to a luxurious Ayurvedic resort somewhere in, I think it was in LA. And so this kind of then catapulted Ayurveda, and especially Panchakarma, which is a detox treatment as well, into the spotlight. We have our friend here, a health guru, Gwyneth Paltrow, who advocates, a lot of the lifestyle things in Ayurveda, like oil pulling. Here is a woman of Indian origin who started an Ayurvedic beauty brand. So that's been something as well that's got a lot of recognition. And then, things like tongue scraping and stuff, which, people are kind of catching on more to these like, I wouldn't say health fads, but certain aspects of Ayurveda. So you've got like beauty, the treatment, the day-to-day things, which is all definitely part of it. But in its essence, Ayurveda is more than that. It's really a lifestyle. So just to talk about some of the common myths as well in Ayurveda. So when I talk about Ayurveda, for people who think, oh, maybe I've got a bit of an idea of what that is. So firstly, people, who are aware of Ayurveda, they're like, oh, it's Indian. And just because something's Indian, it doesn't mean it's Ayurvedic. Now, having grown up with an Indian background and culture myself, and we'd go to India a lot, especially as kids, there would be things like, in my family we used to do, and I didn't know this until I studied Ayurveda. I'm like, oh, hey, this is actually Ayurvedic. So for example, we'd come and our grandma would like douse ourselves with coconut oil and, start rubbing our body and giving us head massages. So this is actually Abhyanga. But just because it's Indian, it doesn't mean it's Ayurvedic. So for example, like just because you're thinking you're eating your butter chicken or something, that this is good for you. Another really common one in India is you'll see people drinking chai. And I think most of us might think chai is really healthy, but it can have like a lot of caffeine and sugar. And you'll see people drinking chai with like a samosa or something deep fried. And in Ayurveda, this food combination is one of the worst things you can do for your digestion. Likewise, just because if something says it's Ayurvedic doesn't mean it's good for you. It's like something that's gluten-free or vegan. It's a label that can be easily used. So it doesn't mean that it's good for you. And particularly Ayurveda takes an approach on an individual level. So you really have to see what is good for me individually. So what's good for someone else might not be good for you. Ayurveda is not about vegetarian. This is kind of also a big common misconception why some people don't or kind of avoid Ayurveda. They're very happy with your current, I'd say like dietary requirements or lifestyle, which is fine. So Ayurveda can really adapt, if you're a vegan, a vegetarian, or if you eat meat or you're more flexitarian. But it's strictly not about being vegetarian. And a lot of the times, if there is recommendation to eat meat, it's from a medicinal point of view. So Ayurveda is not only to do with cooking, it's actually much more to do with that. Cooking is quite an important element, especially, you know, the kind of foods that we eat too. It's not just about all these like pills, potions, and intense treatments. So if you go, for example, on an Ayurvedic detox or panchakarma, and you'll come back with all these potions and pills and oils and everything that is great, they can definitely help facilitate in alleviating symptoms and be part of a plan whilst you're working with Ayurveda. But that's just not the only thing. And another big myth is like, you know, I think when we come to any of these holistic or alternative medicine routes, like often we approach it as the last resort, should I say. So you don't have to be ill to adapt an Ayurvedic lifestyle at all. So even if it's something as simple as, hey, I want to look at a way I can just, you know, improve my day-to-day well-being and you know, live more at one with nature. Or if it's like, oh, I'm a person who really, really struggles with making decisions, or you know, I've got brain fog. That's when Ayurveda can also be really helpful. So you definitely don't have to be ill or experiencing or suffering from disease to incorporate Ayurveda, because if you remember the two main goals of Ayurveda, the first is to maintain health, to maintain optimum health in your mind, in your body, and soul. Okay, so in its essence, Ayurveda is a lifestyle. So this is where Ayurveda is very unique in that way. You know, it is much more than medicine. It is much more than treatment. And I like to call it a therapeutic lifestyle, because once you learn Ayurveda and once you really start to learn what's good for you, it becomes much more purposeful. So you become much more intentional and purposeful in what you do every day, you know, from the foods to eat, from the foods you eat to the activities that you do. And it's something that is you can really have with you for your life. So this is actually, in my opinion, what makes it different from a lot of different treatments, a lot of different kind of medical systems as well. So we're going to start with the basis of Ayurveda. And Ayurveda doesn't separate us between nature. So Ayurveda intrinsically links us to nature. So we are one with nature. And the cornerstone of everything, how everything functions in Ayurveda, is based on the 5 elements. So now we have, I can't even keep up to date with how many different elements is discovered in modern times. I think it's probably more than 200, 300. That's a question for Mr. Google. But in Ayurveda, it's based on the 5 elements. So the first is ether. So ether is known as space. So if you imagine the space, okay, you're sitting in a room maybe or somewhere, so it's a space around you. In our bodies, these are the cavities, the spaces that we hold in our body. The second is air. So air is the element, I'm sure you can even maybe feel slightly like the air on your skin, the air moving through your breath, so the movement. The third is fire. So hopefully if you're sitting maybe somewhere warm, even though it's cold, or you can maybe see the sun. And in our body, this is really represented by our digestive fire, so the thing that produces heat. The fourth is water. So these are all the fluids that are in our body. Water, of course, you know, natural resource that is everywhere. And the last is earth. Okay, so earth, you can just imagine the ground underneath, the thing that sustains us, the foundation of our health, and in our body, you know, our bones and everything that make up that matter. So I really love a beautiful saying from Brian Cox, you know, that the same elements that exist within us. So you imagine us, we were once stars that died billions of years ago, that this all exists within us, within our body. So the foundation of the entire material and manifested world. So the things that we can see, we can touch and feel, and the things that are existing energetically, that are and will existing, are all stem from these 5 elements of nature. And we're working with Ayurveda. It's very important to understand these elements, because the characteristics, the qualities of these elements is what makes up our unique constitution. And then also what makes up, everything from the times of day, the seasons. And once we know these qualities of nature, this is how then we can treat illness. We can become more intuitive what we need to do with our, our body, the time of day, and everything. So when the soul actually merges with these elements, that's what is called our doshas. So I'm sure maybe some of you have heard of, in Ayurveda, it's really important to know, what is your dosha? What is your constitution? So this is unique to each and every person. And your dosha, so remember the 5 elements, it merges with the soul. This is determined at the time of conception, not the time of your birth. And it's largely indicated by the state of your biological mother and father. Okay, so there are 3 types of doshas. Doshas are actually known as the literal translation is a blemish or fault, because the doshas are constantly changing as well. So the first is vata. So this is a combination of air and ether. So naturally, when you think of these qualities, what do you think of? Things that, fluid, changing, movement, connection to the wider consciousness. These are all very much vata qualities. Pitta, of course, is the fire, it's the passion, it's the thing that is responsible for assimilation, transformation. This is fire and water. And the last is kapha. So kapha is water and earth. So you think of this groundedness, this stable foundation, the thing that supports our health. So each one of us do have vata, pitta, and kapha in us, but usually 1 or 2 of these are predominant. So this is known as your constitution. So you might have heard someone saying, oh, I'm a vata person, I'm a pitta person, or kapha, or it can be a combination of either 2 of them, or in very rare cases, it can be a combination of the 3. So in Ayurveda, it's very important to understand your constitution, because this is where Ayurveda differs from a lot of other kind of health and medical approaches, because it's individualized. It's about what you are. So looking at not just your constitution, but your current state, because of course of our lifestyle and how we are day to day, and the amount of things that we have going on and the bombardment and stimulation, these dosas are constantly in flux. So we have what's known as our natural state and our current state. So, these are things that you might actually know as well as you as a person. So for example, if you're a vata person, you might be maybe a bit more prone to anxiety and stress, but at the same time, you take on change really well. You're really creative. You could have problems to do with your digestion. You could be feeling, have things to do with like constipation, headaches, find it hard to make decisions, and so on. So this is why it's really important to understand you as you are and your current state. And then we treat that according to your needs. So once we start to know, hey, this is actually what I'm like, it's about equipping you with this kind of knowledge and power to know, these are the things that are going to be more favorable for me, and these are the things that are going to be less favorable in terms of, what foods you should eat, what activities you should do, how you should structure your lifestyle. And it like finding out your astrology and all of these things, it can be really tempting to know, I want to know my dosha. But just a word of caution and advice is just to be careful of these online quizzes, because there's so many you can do. And then you think, I'm a vata type or I'm a pitta type. And you start Googling all of these things. This is what I should do as a pitta person. It actually doesn't take into account then what is your imbalance, because in Ayurveda, it's most important to address first the imbalance so we can get you back to your natural state. So this is where I would advise seeking an Ayurvedic practitioner consultant or an Ayurvedic doctor, so that you can know, okay, what is my constitution and what is my imbalance? And then, you know, you can find out accordingly what would suit you. So please let me know as we go along. I should have mentioned this at the start if things are a bit confusing, or if you have any questions along the way. If you need some clarification, I will have time for the questions at the end. We will have about 5-10 minutes for questions. Okay, so what does all of this mean? So I know it might seem like a lot when we're taking on like the elements and understanding constitution and stuff, but to put it in a really simplified way, the cornerstone of good health, the indication of good health in Ayurveda actually stems from a healthy digestion. So any kind of illness, disease you can think of, from something like a headache to cancer, this is due to poor digestion. Now, there's many different factors that can disrupt digestion, but healthy digestion is the key to good health mentally, physically, and your well-being in Ayurveda. So this is governed by what is called Agni, our digestive fire. And it's functioned by all of our senses. So when we think digestion, we're like, oh, okay, so that means I should be eating healthy foods. Okay, yep, I'm going to do that. It's much more than that, because remember, we digest through all of our senses. So it's not just what we eat, what we're putting in ourselves, how we're eating, the activities that we do, like who we're spending time with, how we structure our day, how we think, how we move, the things that we input ourselves with, these lovely guys here, our phones and stuff. These are all things that have an impact on our digestion. So in Ayurveda, 80% of any kind of disease and illness actually stems from the mind in Ayurveda. And now, of course, in modern day, there's been so much research and everything that we know into the gut-mind connection, things to do with our microbiome. This is all based actually on the essential teachings of Ayurveda. So when digestion is disrupted, it disrupts everything. It disrupts the kind of whole flow of how the body's meant to get nourished, right down to the cells, everything from a metabolic to our endocrine system, to our lymphatic system, to our mental health. Everything gets affected. So when digestion is not working properly, as I said, to those kind of myriad of factors that can disrupt our digestion, this is when toxins start to accumulate. So toxins are called ama. And once we have accumulation of toxins, which usually happens over time, or if it happens more in an acute state, due to toxicity or something like that, disease and illness will form. Okay, so we have to kind of break that down. Firstly, we have digestion. So all the things that we're putting into our body, not just our food. The digestion, the fire, when this isn't working, it results in toxins which accumulate in our body. And then this then results in what we know as illness or disease, which can manifest itself as many different things, from heart disease to constipation to endometriosis, and even things like ADHD, conditions like that. So another thing, especially with the kind of information that we have these days, is that what we think is healthy is actually disrupting our digestion. And this is why it's really important that we take the individual approach when it comes to Ayurveda. So just some of the things that I want you guys to be a little bit mindful of. So things like smoothies, salads, fasting for really long periods of time, low carb supplements, too many supplements. These are all things that will dampen, disrupt our digestive fire, and that I would recommend to really limit or just be mindful of consuming and doing when you're trying to improve your health. Okay, so you're probably thinking then, what can I do then? So here are some simple tips that I would highly recommend to improve your digestion. So if we just think of, like, again, this fire, Agni, what are the things that are naturally going to fuel the fire? That's why I was saying, like, okay, things like smoothies and salads, you know, you're putting in like raw food or something really cold and mushy, like this is going to disrupt the fire. So things that help fuel the fire are, of course, local, seasonal, organic, and home cooked food. Because like with anything that we're inputting into our body and our senses, it's all to do with the energy transfer. So this is all prana, as what we know is the life force, is the energy. So foods that are local, seasonal, and organic have high prana. And then when you're cooking them at home, of course, it's the intention, it's the stuff that you put into it, it's the love. That's why when we go to like a grandma's house or like an Italian nonna, imagine the love which they make the cooking. That's why it tastes so good, and that's why it's so nutritious for us. Another thing with Ayurveda, so we are one with nature. We're trying to align ourselves with the time of the day. So I know for some of us, this might be a bit difficult if we live in countries quite far away from the equator, where we have extremes in time zones and difference. But generally, the rule is to make lunch your biggest meal. Because if you think of the sun, the time of day, this is when your fire and that pitta element, that energy is going to be at its highest. So this is when it's going to be most easy for you to digest your food, to get that energy, to transform it then into the nutrients and everything that you need. Another big tip of mine is to drink warm water. So warm water is a really great, effective way to improve your digestion, to flush out toxins. So avoid ice cold water. And I know for some of us in the European countries, we're heading into summer, like in Portugal today, it's going to be 28 degrees. I don't know why I'm still in my jumper, actually. Yeah, just to avoid really cold drinks. So either room temperature or warm water, especially in the morning and the evening. Avoid lemon or things like, what's the other acidic thing? Apple cider vinegar, because this causes too much acidity in the stomach. And like I said, you know, we're digesting through all of our senses, is what we put in. Just be mindful of what you consume. So, you know, if you start your day, you're rolling out of bed, you're checking out your phone, and then, you know, you're rushing to the gym and you've got to pick up the kids and do all that. Yes, you know, there are a lot of things in our day-to-day life that, you know, we have to do that make us busy. But like how easy it was at the beginning of the class, just having 5 minutes to check in, just maybe like, okay, I'm going to put that, you know, the phone away now, or choose to go for a walk instead of sitting in front of the TV. These are things that are so important for your day-to-day health, because like I was saying, it's the things that we do every day. It's the things that we accumulate over time. That is the foundation for our good health. My big no-nos. So avoid, where possible, processed, frozen and canned foods. Because if you think of these, again, if you think of food as energy, ideally, you know, when we get the food, that's why I was saying seasonal and local, you know, the food grows, it's being picked from the trees and you're eating it. So that energy, that freshness that you're getting is all being absorbed in your body. When we have processed, frozen and canned foods, you know, these are foods that have been lying around for a very long time. They've got all kinds of things in them. We don't know what's happening. So this is things that can really slow down. It gives what's called a tamasic, a very dull, heavy energy. And these are things that can actually make us feel really sluggish and slow. And another one, of course, everything in moderation is, you know, ice cream is it's a big favorite of mine. As we get to the summer, again, just you know, not every day, maybe like once a week or something like that. And of course, as much as possible, I know these are probably things that we hear a lot, you know, in anyone who's giving health advice, any kind of natural I guess medical system, or if you're just looking at nutrition and a way to live, we do know more and more, and so much research has shown that if we can avoid things like alcohol, processed foods, smoking and caffeine, this will lead to a better health. And there is really no way to circumvent this. Of course, I'm all about promoting balance and doing what's good for you, but to put it simply, these are things that are really unconducive to not just your digestion, but to having a healthy lifestyle. So I think the main thing is to understand how you can balance your digestion, and then knowing, okay, when we do these things, of course, you know, having a drink and whatever is fine and stuff, but just to know, okay, why am I doing this? Is this a choice I'm going to make? And of course, the frequency of which you're doing these things. Sorry, was there a question? Okay, that was just someone sharing. So how do we approach things from Ayurveda? So whenever we're looking at an individual, the first thing that we want to understand is your constitution and current state. So as I was mentioning before, with the doshas, to understand this is my type. Okay, so for example, for me, I'm a Vata Pitta person, and I know that my current imbalance is also Pitta and Vata. That's to do with a bit of life change that's happened for me recently. So it's just then being able to treat accordingly to that individual person. So that's why it's so important to understand your constitution and current state, because what is going to work for you is not going to work for someone else. And we look at your life holistically, okay, not just what you've been eating, what you've been drinking. It's like, what have you been doing? How have your relationships been? What kind of work do you do? Because these are all of the things that contribute and factor into our state of health and well-being. So first, we look at your constitution and the current state of your doshas to understand who you are, what you're naturally averse to, what you're naturally favorable towards. And then we treat depending on that state of illness. So it can be anything from, you know, acute to chronic, or even things like I was mentioning before. You just want to look at ways to improve your lifestyle, improve your digestion, to feel better, to just not to experience things that, you know, are quite common for us. Hey, I want to feel less bloated. I want to feel less gassy. I want to feel less lethargic and have less brain fog and stuff. So then we look at the treatment depending on the state of illness. And this is all done not just to treat the symptoms, but we're addressing the root of the cause. Okay, and actually that firstly starts with healing the digestion. So no matter how severe the problem is, so even if you go to something like a panchakarma, like a resort center, they will first work on, you know, healing your digestion before they're going to give you all these pills and treatments. So once we have a healthy and balanced Agni, then we can start to work with things like natural herbs and supplements and introducing the right diet as well. And then we work towards developing what's called dinacharya, which is your daily routine. So these are the things that are understanding, hey, this is what's favorable for me, what's not favorable. So for example, if you're a kapha type and you have a kapha imbalance, it's really important for you actually to do more exercise in the morning, to eat more invigorating spices like you know, a bit of pepper, a bit of onion and stuff like that. So understanding how to incorporate this in your day-to-day routine, and even the things like we know that have become more popular in Ayurveda these days, like, you know, the tongue scraping and the oil pulling, which are all very good. So it's just kind of taking these little tools and being like, what are the things that I can do every day that's going to have the biggest impact, that's going to be, you know, give the biggest result and to help me feel at my best. So we start then to work towards just doing things that are more favorable, less favorable for you, that it starts to become intuitive. So Ayurveda, we want to give you the tools to be able to empower yourself to know, hey, actually, I didn't realize this, but for years I've been having a smoothie for part of my breakfast every day, but this isn't really good for my digestive health. So I'm going to swap this out for having like some warm oats instead, and just noticing the difference when we do that. Okay. And Ayurveda in its essence is all about balance and consistency. We believe it's every day what you do that matters most. So whilst, you know, it is, especially nowadays, we do get caught in these things where we want a treatment, a plan, we go to the resort, we have all of the nice, you know, massages and do all this, and we come out and we feel great. But then what happens after a few days, few weeks, right? We're coming back, we're struggling with these things that we're just like, and we take it for granted like it's just normal. So this is where Ayurveda teaches us how it is that we can live in the state of optimum health, to know what it is to feel good in our body, you know, to feel really true to ourselves, and to thrive in life. And another thing is that there is no such thing as a perfect diet or like a perfect day in that sense. It is just being able to adapt to just knowing what you need and what's good for you. So some key takeaways. I know that's a lot of information, but if there's anything I want you guys to take away, is that firstly, you know, if we think of Ayurveda, what is it? It's a lifestyle. It's a way to empower yourself with self-healing so that you can live your best life. You know, you don't have to suffer. You can just start to feel good and enjoy this life, and meant to do what you're meant to do. So Ayurveda in its essence says that we are one with nature. So it's such a beautiful lifestyle and a way of life that brings us back to the essence of who we are. Of course, we are at one with nature. That's how we've been for the last hundreds of thousands of years. Of course, with our modern day, you know, everything that we have going on, we are becoming more removed away from that. But, you know, even if you live in a city, you've got kids, you have to be in front of the computer and all of that. There are so many things that we can do to just bring us back to understanding this is the essence of who we are, you know, because this is where our health lies. This is where our longevity lies. Understand your current state to thrive in optimum health. So we are all not the same, and really takes an individual approach. So we're understanding, hey, this is who I am. This is what I need. This is what's good for me and not so good for me. Digestion is the key. So again, thinking about the things that's going to fuel my fire, not just what I put into my mouth, but all that energy, everything that I expose myself to. Understanding that there's no such thing as the perfect diet. You know, Ayurveda is about balance as well. You know, ultimately we want to promote that in our day-to-day life. And it's the little things that you do every day that matters most. So this is where consistency is key. This is where the transformation can really start to occur. So just a little bit about what I do. So from how I work as an Ayurvedic practitioner, I work with one-to-one consultations, and I help and I treat issues related to anything from weight to hormonal imbalance to women's health, if you have chronic illnesses, digestion issues, stress, anxiety, all of that. And as I said before, even if you're just looking at ways to, you know, you want to understand, hey, what is my constitution? Where am I at? What are the things that I can do that's just going to, you know, help me thrive and I can feel my best. So we work on a 1 month to 3 month journey, and I support you with everything from a nutritional plan to lifestyle guidance. We'll work on a yoga and meditation practice that's tailored for you, things that you can incorporate every day, and we'll do weekly check-ins. So my main objective, like I said at the start, my purpose is to help empower people thrive and live to their best, and working on treating the cause, getting to the root of what's actually going on, and giving you sustainable lifelong practices where you can be your best you, and you know, you really don't have to suffer. You can kind of move away from all of the noise as well and all this different information, and just start to intuitively feel better. Okay, so now's the time for questions. I did have a few come in beforehand, so hopefully some of them I might have actually covered already. So the first one was how to improve digestion. Well, hopefully we would have taken a few things away from that. So understanding, you know, the digestive fire. This is the key in Ayurveda to promote good health, and that, you know, it's really everything that we input into our body. So we just think of energy exchange from the food to how we eat to what we're doing. This is another really interesting one. How can Ayurveda help with PCOS? Ayurveda can definitely help with PCOS, because again, we look at the root of the problem. We look at your current lifestyle. PCOS by its own, this is a symptom of kapha disorder, so excess growth. But again, we're just not looking at that. We're looking at all of the different things that are contributing to your lifestyle. And then we work on a treatment specifically for that. Okay. And I can say this wholeheartedly from experience, you know, issues with myself and my cycle to do with bulky uterus, fibroids, adenomyosis. This is all things that I've been able to treat with an Ayurvedic lifestyle and approach. And how can I implement it, not just for myself, but my girls and hubby too, for overall holistic support and well-being? This is a beautiful question, because of course the lovely thing in Ayurveda is to be able to share this with others, to share this with our partners, to share this with our families. So like I said, you know, just thinking about the things that we're looking at with digestion, like being able to sit and eat with your family, not having these distractions, being able to do things in our day-to-day, like, you know, if it's like I think my brother's is actually on the call today. A lovely thing that him and his family do in the morning with the kids is they all sit and they do breathe and they do yoga together. So it's these little things that we think, oh, okay, but I only have 5 minutes, or, you know, this is what is so important for our day-to-day well-being and our wellness and our longevity too. And so with that, I will open it up to more questions. So we've got here, so some in the chat. He's given the one constitution and state of the doshas may change from time to time. How can one consistently practice a favorable routine that is in line with the dosha? Okay, that is such a good question. Yes, so I think so with Ayurveda, as much as it is to understand our constitution and our imbalance. So when we're looking at the imbalance, is that if the disease or the state of illness has been there for quite some long time, that means you've had something out of imbalance for quite a long time. So then we work on treating that first, so you can get back to a state where, you know, ideally that condition is treated. And because then you'll understand your natural constitution, you'll then be able to know the things, hey, this is, you know, things that are favorable for me, and these are things that are less favorable for me. So it really depends on the state of imbalance. So, you know, the state of your illness, the state of imbalance, and then understanding who I am, you know, what are the things that is going to be good for my mind and body. And there are general kind of Ayurvedic principles that we have. Of course, you know, there are things that can disrupt the doshas like that. For example, hopping on a plane, you know, this probably increases the vata element straight away. So again, it's just knowing, okay, I've done these things. How can I just bring myself back to balance? If it's something as simple as like doing a nice oil massage, or maybe, you know, it's winter time, so I'm going to nourish myself with really warm foods, with warm spices and things like that. So these are the kind of tools and information and things that you'll be able to equip yourself with once you understand the Ayurvedic lifestyle, and particularly that approach for you. So I hope that's answered the question. And Ting, so how do we determine our natural state and current state of doshas? So like I said, really try and avoid the online quiz, and either speak to an Ayurvedic practitioner, an Ayurvedic consultant, or an Ayurvedic doctor. Okay. Any more questions? Anyone feel like they want to ask something? It could be anything that you had on your mind. Anything?
Faaria, I've got a question.
Yes.
Very often I notice with myself, and I'm sure a lot of others too, a connection between how we eat and what we eat and our mental state. So for example, if I'm not feeling well mentally or a bit low or depressed, I tend to eat badly, and vice versa. So in Ayurveda, how would you approach this? Would you address the mental state first, or do you address the digestion? How do you approach it?
That's such a good question. Thanks for sharing that, Mum. Yes, so in Ayurveda, we actually don't make a distinction between the two, because your mental health is part of your overall health. So we look at this from in terms of what dosha is imbalanced. Okay, and I'm just using this as an example, and this is not a given. For example, like let's say you have a vata imbalance, which is causing a lot of stress and anxiety. So this is going to then have the impact on your digestive system. So first we look at the things that are going to improve your digestion. So that's what I was saying. It's the holistic approach to digestion. So not just the foods you eat, but the activities you do, because the activities you do, everything that you're inputting into yourself, surrounding yourself with, is affecting your mind and your body. Okay, so we would look at this, you know, for example, someone with stress and anxiety, high vata imbalance, it's addressing things in their lifestyle. So, you know, what kind of activities you should be doing, ideally, like avoiding lots of excess activity, trying to do things to decrease the stress, activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So things like, you know, yin yoga, meditation. And then we incorporate the certain types of food to reduce vata. And so, yes, it definitely goes hand in hand. You know, that's the thing that Ayurveda looks at the holistic approach to understand what is the actual root cause of the depression as well, what's happening in your lifestyle, and what are the things that we can do to, you know, to bring back that balance, to help, you know, someone get out of there. I hope that made sense. Yes, okay, cool. Any other questions? And of course, you know, if there's something that you have time to reflect upon, and then you can always shoot me an email. So I just wanted to share a little bit about some upcoming events and offerings. So at the moment, I'm based in Portugal, in Ericeira, which is about 45 minutes from Lisbon. I'm doing a workshop here on next Sunday, the 23rd of April, where we're going into more detail about lifestyle guidance and nutrition. There's an Ayurvedic chef who's going to be cooking a delicious Ayurvedic lunch. We're talking about the 6 tastes and everything. I'm going to run a very similar workshop in Bahrain next May. So that's going to be at Namaste, a beautiful yoga studio there. And then the next thing I've got coming up is an Ayurvedic retreat. I'm going to be doing an Ayurvedic. It's not like as intense as a panchakarma, but it's definitely it's to do with relaxation and detoxification, as here in Europe we'll be entering the colder months, the winter months. So just to be preparing our minds and our bodies for that. And at the moment, I have openings for 5 new clients, either online and in person. So just feel free to get in touch with me. I offer everyone who I work with a free 20-minute consultation. And so, you know, you can get in touch with me at my email. I'm sure you all have my email now. And you can just follow me on my Instagram for all of my activities. So I'm traveling a little bit this year. I will be spending most of my time in Europe. So I do hope to be doing more workshop classes, events. So with that is all from me. And I just wanted to say a big thank you. I'm going to get off here so we can see your faces again. I really appreciate your time and for joining. I hope that's given you just a bit of insight, a bit of food for thought, maybe, answer some of your questions, got you a bit inspired, whatever it was. I hope that you got something out of this today. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for opening up your minds. Thank you for showing your interest. And like I said, you know, even if you just want to have a chat, it doesn't have to be like, I need to go down this Ayurvedic route. Anything that you're interested to find out, I'm open, I'm here. And like I said, my purpose is to help you to feel your best, to, you know, get through all of this noise, all this like confusion that we have, so you can, you know, stop suffering, start to feel and to be your best. I'm here to support you with that. So I just wanted to say a big thank you for all of you who could join. And yeah, any last questions, thoughts, anything that you want to share? Some people writing in the chat here. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Faaria. That was awesome.
Great. Wonderful. I love doshas. I love dosas, and now I love doshas. Okay. For those of you who don't know, dosas are a very popular South Indian food. It's like a pancake. It sounds similar to dosha. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. It was lovely to see you. I'm going to send the recording, and I wish all of you a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and take care of yourself. I look forward to connecting soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.